All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on September 12th, 2023. And for the regular scheduled village board meeting, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lana, roll call, please.
Mayor DeBold.
Here.
Trustees Amos.
Here.
Brockman.
Here.
Carroll.
Here.
Chapman.
Here.
Luciano.
Here.
And Selfridge.
Here.
All right, everybody's here. We do have a quorum. With that, I will move into, are there any citizens wishing to address the village board? Before I get into that real quick, I want to take an opportunity. We have Dr. Klein Namuo from Joliet Junior College here this evening. He was going to make just a couple of quick remarks and be able to touch on a couple things that Joliet Junior College is doing for the community.
All right, Mr. Mayor, thank you. And village trustees, I appreciate the opportunity to be before you and kind of share some of what's happening at JJC. I first want to acknowledge many friends in the room. I've been the 10th president of JJC for a little over a year now, gotten to know the mayor a little bit, gotten to know the chief a little bit, and thankful for his support of our police department. I want to acknowledge, of course, the incredible years of service of trustees Brockman and Chapman. They're what kind of makes JJC so amazing. As much as the president loves to think that students come to JJC because of the president, he's wrong. Students come to JJC because of our faculty and our staff and the incredible experience they get with us. I've got a great job. I've been able to crisscross Will County, Grundy County, and the 5 other counties that JJC serves. And make note, JJC each year on the credit side alone serves 21,934 students, many of them from the village of Shorewood, coming from our feeder school districts. This first year, I was able to launch an initiative called 12 by 12 by 12. A game-changing dual credit initiative that will impact hundreds of lives immediately, thousands of lives in the short term, and tens of thousands of lives long term. It's an initiative that challenges all 40,000 high school students across our 7-county region to earn 12 college credits by the end of their 12th grade year. And I'm going to do my best to make eye contact with trustees Brockman and Chapman and pay just $12 a credit for that. A game-changing initiative that I hope to impact tens of thousands of lives over the course of the next few years. When the mayor and I first, had a conversation about philosophies around leadership, it's clear that he values relationships in this community, and I'm very thankful for that. A few years ago, I had the chance to write a book on community colleges, and the central theme of that book is that community colleges be deeply embedded in the communities we serve. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to be before all of you, thankful for your support of Joliet Junior College, and Mr. Mayor, I yield the floor. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So, like I said, we simply just want to take the opportunity to have Dr. Namuo come out, say hello, touch on a few things that Joliet Junior College is doing for our community, as he already touched on. We have a lot of feeder schools within our community that also help support that organization. So they're doing a lot of great things. And again, thank you for coming out and spending a few minutes with us this evening.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
make one
Yeah,
comment?
by all means.
My grandson's a relief pitcher for the Wolves right now, so try to get him a little more mound time with him. Ready? George Leemacher. All right. Okay.
All right. With that, are there any other citizens wishing to address the village board this evening?
Oh, man.
All right, seeing none, we'll move into our consent agenda for the evening. Item number 1 will be approval of the regular meeting minutes of August 22nd, 2023. Approval of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes, August 22nd, 2023. Approval of the accounts payable in the amount of $818,345.44. Final payment, the amount of $10,350 to Pyrotechnic Fireworks for the Crossroads Festival. Payment, the amount of $10,490 to Joliet Tent for Oktoberfest. Payment amount of $22,000 to Sikich LLP for our auditing services. Payment amount of $13,476.51 to Fleet Safety for a patrol car upfit. And finally, item number 8 to be approval of a payment amount of $263,282.67 to H&H Electric for the River Road LED lighting updates. Any items that a board member has a question for or needs any amendments? If not, take a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion Luciano, second Chapman. Roll call, please.
Brockman. Brockman.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
And Amos.
Yes.
All right, consent agenda's been approved. Moving into this evening's reports and communication section. We do have a proclamation referencing National Rail Safety Week. Prior to that, Lana, was there anything else that we had received prior to this evening's agenda?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. With that, I'm going to read the National Rail Safety Week's proclamation. National Rail Safety Week, September 18th through the 24th, 2023. Whereas, Rail Safety Week is to be held across the United States from September 18th to 2024-2023. And whereas 2,194 rail grade crossing collisions resulted in 803 personal injuries and were responsible for 274 fatalities in the United States during 2022. And whereas 1,208 pedestrian trespassing casualties have occurred in the United States, resulting in 658 pedestrians being killed and another 550 injured while trespassing on railroad property rights of way during 2022. And whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety, reminding the public that railroad right-of-ways are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways and obeying established traffic laws, will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and citizens. And whereas the International Association of Chiefs of Police, the National Operation Lifesaver, the United States Department of Transportation, and all local, state, county, and railroad law enforcement officers, first responders, and railroad corporations commit to partnering together in an effort to educate at a national level all aspects of railroad safety, to enforce applicable laws in support of National Rail Safety Week. Therefore, I, Clarence C. DeBold, Mayor of Village of Shorewood, do hereby attest my full support proclaiming September 18th to 24th, 2023 National Rail Safety Week, and I encourage all citizens to recognize the importance of rail safety education. Dated this 12th day of September, 2023. As we all know, we have a variety of rail crossings in town. Actually, we have 4. And we know as the village continues to grow west, our incidents of pedestrian crossings are only going to increase, and therefore the more we can continue to educate our residents and the public around as our village grows westerly, we can do our part to proactively educate everybody and keep our intersections and our communities safe. With that, we'll move into this evening's order of business. Item number 1. Consideration for approval of an ordinance granting a variance from Title 10 of the Shorewood Village Code with regard to parking and landscaping at 220 Shanahan Street, Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois. This item is up for a first read. Trustee Brockman and Ms. Engel.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll kick this off. Mr. Lumley, which I don't believe is here this evening, came before our last planning and zoning meeting asking for relief on additional parking spaces at his business and also some relief as far as landscaping for that business. And Natalie, I'm sure you have some details, and number 1 and 2 are both same subject, so maybe we can talk about both of them at the same time. So,
So 220 Shanahan is a 2,500 square foot office building. It currently has 7 parking spaces, one of which is an ADA space. The site is maxed out in terms of how much parking they can get on the site, but it is a fairly small parking lot, so sometimes it does spill onto the street. The property owner has approached IDOT because IDOT has right-of-way of Shanahan Street in that area, and they have entered into an agreement with IDOT where they can expand their parking lot into the right-of-way to create 5 more parking spaces and make a much more usable parking lot. The proposed parking spaces are shaded in blue. There's 2 on one side, and they'll have the restriping of the ADA space, and 3 on the other side. Typically, we require a 10-foot setback from the right-of-way before you can have parking, but in this case, the parking lot will go into the right-of-way, so that's not possible. So they've asked for a variance for the setback requirement. See, it's shaded in green there to show you where it is. So basically, to eliminate the setback requirement because it extends into the right-of-way. And they've also asked for a relief from the landscape ordinance. It's not practical to fit the amount of landscaping that our code would call for in that area without creating an obstruction of visibility. So what they've proposed is to put in 6 dense yew in that area. Those will be 18-inch bushes that won't grow very tall, so it'll do a little bit to soften the look, but won't block visibility. And they've asked for relief from the code. It's one of these weird situations where because the yard is usually counted from the property line to where the parking spaces start, in this case, there's not really any distance because they're already in the parkway, so we thought that would be a good alternative. This map kind of enumerates what's on the site. In reality, they have more landscaping on the site than code would allow, so we thought that was a fair request. Really fairly simple project. If you'd like to see what it looks like, there's the views showing the different angles and the landscaping. Right now, there are 2 businesses in there. There's an Edward Jones office, and there is a just plain office space for a logistics company. They don't have any trucks coming there. And then the property owner has a little office in the basement. And this will help those just to be able to function on the lot without having to spill out onto the street. The Plan Commission recommended in favor of it unanimously.
Any other questions or comments on that?
I've got one. We had the public hearing at the Planning and Zoning Commission. Has there been any other neighbors reach out about this that got notices?
No.
No.
I have to expect that the neighbors probably are in favor of it because there will be less likelihood that there will be people parked in front of their house.
Did the petitioner mention anything about being notified by IDOT about that potential pedestrian bridge coming right in the backside of that property?
He did not mention that at all. I think we've talked to him about the proposed improvements in that area, but I don't think that came up. He really solely spoke to IDOT about that area along Shanahan Street.
All right, I was just figuring if he had spoke with IDOT, they may mention that, but I know there's a variety of different bureaus with.
How much space is going to be required? Do you have any idea?
I do not know.
It looks like it's pretty close. I don't know
Yeah.
where that'll.
It's a fairly slim amount. I don't think it impacts the parking spaces at all, but it's a fairly slim amount along the top. I'd be happy to send out the IDOT plan showing that area if you guys would like.
Nope, I'm not worried about it. I was just curious if the property owner had made mention. That's
No.
all.
Okay, we did hold a public hearing. No one came forward to speak either for or against, and comes here with a 5-0 vote from Planning and Zoning. So I'd like to make a motion to approve an ordinance granting a variance from Title 10 of Shorewood Village Code with regards to parking and landscaping at 220 Shannon Street in the village of Shorewood. Waive the second read.
Second.
Motion Brockman, second Carroll. Roll call, please.
Carroll,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Luciano,
Yes.
Selfridge,
Yes.
Amos,
Yes.
and Brockman.
Yes.
All right, item number 1's been approved. Item number 2 is a consideration for approval of a resolution approving a site plan for a parking lot expansion at 220 Shanahan Street, Village of Shorewood County.
Any other questions or comments on this portion? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve a resolution approving a site plan for a parking lot expansion at 220 Shanahan Street in the village of Shorewood.
I'll second.
Motion Brockman, second Amos. Roll call, please.
Chapman.
Yes.
Luciano. Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
And Carroll.
Yes.
All right, the item's been approved. Item number 3, be consideration for approval of an ordinance authorizing the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois, to borrow funds from the Illinois Public Works Water Supply Loan Program. This item is also for a first read. Public Works Director Noriega.
Thank you, Mayor. So as you're aware that we are in process for completing our designs for our receiving delivery station for the the future lake water project, our 5 million gallon underground reservoir storage, along with a big, long water extension, 16-inch water main extension from Mound almost to Route 52. Basically, it will be connecting to our Walnut Trails water tower. So we're looking for funding opportunities, and in order to participate in the Illinois Public Water Supply Loan Program, the village is required to approve an ordinance authorizing the borrowing of the funds. Right now, the interest rates for that program is a little bit less than 2%. So again, this is going to be for our pumping station, receiving station, the 5 million gallon underground reservoir, and the 16-inch water main extension, where we are estimating approximately $28 million for those projects. Staff is recommending the village board approve the ordinance authorizing the village to borrow up to $28,157,115 from the Illinois Public Water Supply Loan Program and waive the second read. Any questions?
Go ahead.
We're authorizing we're not saying voting to borrow, right? We're voting to authorize to apply for this loan. Isn't that correct? Yes. Okay. That's what I just wanted to clarify.
Not a problem.
So then they would have to come back to the board to borrow any money?
Correct.
What we'll do is we'll come up with a loan agreement working with the IPA. This does authorize the mayor to sign that, but I think it's better policy to bring it back to the board to go ahead and sign that and make it official, or approve that and make it official.
Without a doubt, we wouldn't go forward with it until the board, without a doubt, saw that number so they knew exactly what the amount was.
And this is not a general obligation of the village. It'd be strictly a revenue bond or a revenue loan, so that it's paid solely by dollars received from the system.
Dave, did I just hear that right? This doesn't turn into an obligation of the village?
No, I
Or
think-
Did I hear that wrong?
I'm pretty sure it gets structured as a revenue note.
Okay, have we looked
It's n-
into any the revenue source that's gonna go against this note?
Well, you can use any source you want, but
Yeah.
and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. When we get the agreement, there'll be a pledge of revenues in there, and they're generally revenues from the water system, or the combined water and sewer system, probably in this case. It won't be like a property tax, but you can use any
Yeah.
funds that you want to pay for it.
Oh, I was just wondering if we've already looked into it and identified that, okay?
Yes, sir. We would look to use those revenues that have been coming into that separate Lake Michigan Water Fund. That's the increment of the home rule sales tax and the water rates that are now going into there. So that would be part of those, that would be part of the funds that we have set aside for the lake water obligation.
Okay, all right.
Any additional questions on item 3?
Make a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois, to borrow funds from the Illinois Public Water Supply Loan Program and waive the second read.
Second.
Motion Luciano, second Carroll. Roll call, please.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
And Chapman.
Yes.
All right, item number 3 is approved. Item number 4, be consideration for approval of a professional services agreement with M.E. Simpson Company in the amount of $20,855 for the annual leak survey program. Public Works Director Noriega.
Thank you again, Mayor. So this is a recommended, you've heard this presentation before. This is not the first time we've done this leak survey. This is a recommended best management practice for our water distribution system. We approximately have almost 100 miles of water main throughout the entire village. This is a leak survey that is good practice to complete annually to help improve our accountability, especially as we move to lake water. The program will also assist with our IDNR, Lake Water Allocation Permit. We are required under that to stay under 10% water loss. So with that, this is going to be helping us continue to become, stay good stewards of water. This proposal in front of you is actually going to be the second year of a 2-year proposal. Our budget allows for $30,000 for this program. Last year, I had indicated that I would reconfirm the approvals here and bring it forth in front of you again. So staff is recommending the approval of M.E. Simpson's professional service agreement totaling $20,855 for our 2023 annual leak survey program. Any questions?
Questions for Noriel on that?
I'll make a motion for approval of professional service agreement with M.E. Simpson Company in the amount of $20,855 for the annual leak survey program.
Second.
Motion Selfridge, second Chapman. Roll call, please.
Selfridge.
Yes.
Amos.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Carol.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
And Luciano.
Yes.
All right, item 4 has been approved. Item number 5, be consideration for approval of the professional services agreement with M.E. Simpson Company in the amount of $22,260 for the village's annual valve exercising program. Back to Public Works.
Thank you again. So this is another best management practice on our system. We have about 1,300 valves throughout our entire system. It is recommended that we exercise our valves at least one time every 2 years. Now, for budget considerations, we've divided the village into 3 sections, so we do approximately about 420 valves each year. Any valve that is found to be inoperable, staff will investigate and continue to make the repairs as necessary. Our budget also allows $30,000 for this program. Again, this is a 3-year contract that was proposed, that we had executed. This will be the second year of the 3 years. And as I had indicated last year, I'm bringing it forth again to the village board to reconfirm the approval. Staff is recommending the approval of M.E. Simpson's professional service agreement in the amount of $22,260 for our 2023 annual valve exercise program.
Noriel, when they started this program last year, did they identify valves that were problematic?
14.
14.
And then 14 we've been able to make repairs on.
We were able to do the repairs in-house. We're able to make those repairs?
Yes.
Got a question myself then. If that's the case, did they show up as a problem valve after the exercise program was done?
Excuse me?
When the valve was actually moved, being exercised, is that when the problem showed up?
Right, so when the crew came out, they could not operate that valve. It was shut closed for whatever reason. They use every means and methods. They use equipment to try to open that up and close it to operate it. Because we could not close it or operate it, we identified that there's a problem, and then either we would cut it out or we would excavate to make the repairs accordingly.
Good, good. And you know why I was asking, right? Okay. So.
Any additional questions on item number 5?
I'll make a motion for the approval of professional service agreement from M.E. Simpson Company in the amount of $22,260 for the village's annual valve exercising program.
I'll second.
Motion Selfridge, second Amos. Roll call, please.
Amos.
Yes.
Brockman.
Yes.
Carol.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
And Selfridge.
Yes.
All right, item number 6 will be a consideration for approval of a resolution authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental license agreement between the Board of Education of Troy Community Consolidated School District 30C, Will County, Illinois, and the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois, for the recreational use of the school facilities. Ms. Fitzpatrick.
So this is an update to a longstanding agreement that we have had. We have been utilizing the schools with Troy School District since 2018-2019. This is the same agreement we had last year with them. We just updated it, the dates for the 2023-2024 school year. This allows us to request access on weeknights during the school year only for gymnasium space at Troy Cronin, at Hofer and Shorewood Elementary Schools, and allows us some indoor space to host many programs, specifically sporting programs, during the winter months when it's too cold outside.
As far as your programs, your IGA's been
We've had
successful?
success with it since 5 years now.
Very good. Another entity we're having, good working relationships with another public entity and benefit to our residents, so. Anybody have any questions for Katie on this?
I'll make a motion for approval of a resolution authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental license agreement between the Board of Education of Troy Community Consolidated School District 30C, Will County, Illinois, and the Village of Shorewood, Will County, Illinois, for the recreational usage of the school facilities.
Second.
Motion Selfridge, second Carroll. Roll call, please.
Brockman.
Yes.
Carroll.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge.
Yes.
And Amos.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 6 has been approved. Item number 7 will be consideration for approval of a proposal for auditing services with Sikich LLP for the village's annual audit for fiscal years 24 through 28. And Ms. Burkholder.
Thank you. Presented before you tonight is a contract to engage Sikich in auditing services for the next 5 years. They have been the village's auditor for quite a bit of time. We've been very happy with their work. They are recognized as a leader in the government finance industry, and we rely quite heavily on their professional expertise, especially with what we're getting into with our lake water and infrastructure projects here. It's important to have auditors that are familiar with these big government projects and their implications on the village's finance statements. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board presents new rules every year, and Sikich is also recognized as a leader in implementing and training others on those standards. So there is a 4% annual price increase. In our last contract, we had a price decrease in the first year, and we're kind of back up now to where we were at the end of the contract before that. They recognize the village's efficiency as a reason to give us that price break before. And this 4% annually that they're proposing is a sign of the times. I did inquire about it, and they indicated that some clients were being given renewals with 10 to 15% price increases. So in that context, I believe it's a competitive quote.
Any questions for Ms. Burkholder?
Page 18, is that what they're going to be charging us?
Yeah, each year.
And if 5 or 10 more of those Gaspies suddenly appear, they're going to we're going to hold them to that number?
Yes. Yes.
Any additional questions on item number 7? Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion for approval of a proposal for auditing services with Sikich LLP for the village's annual audit for fiscal years 2024 through 2028.
I'll second.
Motion Selfridge, second Amos. Roll call, please.
Carroll.
Yes.
Chapman. Luciano.
Yes.
Selfridge. Amos.
Yes.
And Brockman.
Yes.
All right, item number 7 has been approved. Item number 8 will be consideration for approval of a proposal for professional services with Verizon Connect for the village fleet tracking and management subscription in the amount of $1,806.54 per month, $21,678.48 annually. Public Works Director Noriega and Chief Arnold will have this one.
Thank you again, Mayor. So this is a service subscription that will definitely help us manage our fleet from vehicles to equipment that are out in the field, from maintenance needs to even location monitoring. The system provides alerts, reports to our mechanics in real-time efforts, helps them stay on top of the maintenance. They are able to even view any of the error codes ahead of time so that they can stay on top of the maintenance and then schedule staff accordingly to bring the equipment in. we, at Public Works, we have a lot of sharing of equipment. So there's, I don't want to say that there's some communication issues, but sometimes there is the issue that maybe the staff sees it as, oh, someone else reported it. This will help our mechanics stay on top of the needed maintenance and then help with the life of the vehicle, the health of the vehicle, and of course, longevity. The location monitoring is an added benefit for us. They provide historic and real-time data. This will help us at least, be able to take care of some routine resident complaints that we receive. And many of it is that they have not seen a plow truck come in the last 8 to 10 hours, and my street needs to be plowed. They will also be able to, I have not seen maybe even a patrol officer come into my subdivision for weeks on end. The subscription here will be able, the technology will be able to get the address, we can geo-grid the area, fence it in, and we can find out what equipment, what staff was in that area plowing or patrolling accordingly. This will also, with the hardware, everything comes with it from the subscription. So if there's any hardware upgrades and such, that's all included as part of the subscription. The subscription, the pricing itself is government pricing. Now, here for us, for our fleet, we do have 66 units. 23 are in the police department, 7 are at Village Hall, and then, of course, Public Works has 36 units. The chief might have some insight, but I also had invited Mr. Tim Waters with Verizon Connect to also provide some details about the subscription and what they have to offer.
Chief, you got anything?
Yeah, real quick, that was a great explanation by Noriel. I did use Verizon Connect at my previous command, and we use it for several different things. One of the main things was when citizens would call and say, I haven't seen a squad car for weeks or months or whatever, and we would be able to go back and know exactly when that squad car went past the house. Something else we used it for was all of my officers were required to physically check the businesses in their zone of assignment each night, twice per shift. So if something were to happen, we would know when it happened. So they used to stop and write down the times for each premise check on a piece of paper, and we'd have a, load of paper at the end. With this system, we were able to just go back and look. If there was a burglary at a certain spot, we could go back and see when exactly the officer was last at that location and last did a premise check. So it helped out with that. But a big thing is with the maintenance of the vehicles, knowing when they need different maintenance. Certainly have a lot more vehicles here. It's a pretty large investment that the village has made on all this equipment that we have, so keeping it up and running and properly is important. But I think Mr. Waters can give us an even better explanation of what else the system does.
First, I'd like to thank the mayor and the entire board for allowing me the opportunity to speak here. Noriel had asked me to give a brief description of what our product does and maybe some of the benefits that some of the other government customers have received. So first off, start with the unit itself that goes into the vehicle is all plug and play, so there's no need to cut any wires on the vehicle. One of the benefits of plugging into the diagnostic port refers to what Noriel spoke of in terms of diagnostic codes. Right now, the dilemma would be if a driver said, hey, the engine light's on, and he calls Noriel or someone from his team, he has to make a decision. Now, is this something serious where it's going to lead to a blown engine, or is it something that I can allow the employee to finish what he's doing out in the field and schedule that installation for a later date? So that's one of the benefits there. I would have described the typical one that I hear from my Public Works customers now, that a resident calls, they go out to get their newspaper, and they call in later in the afternoon. They say, look, your plow came down the street. He was driving a little erratic, and he took out our mailbox. That kind of conversation with a resident is always going to be a little delicate. The Public Works director that I talked to for one of my customers, he said, he goes, they're always going to think that we're going to defend our guy no matter what. So having that actual data that you can present and say, we take that very serious, we keep an eye on our equipment, and then to be able to show it to the resident if needed to verify. And then, of course, if it's something that the employee did inadvertently, then you can move to a quick settlement. On a more dramatic note, my solutions engineer shared with me a story just recently on one of our presentations. This happened out east. It was a while back, but they set up idle alerts for the public works. And typically, the times they're going to be idling is when they're, loading up on salt, they're in the yard. But when they're on the route, they're not going to be idling. They're going to be moving continuously. So he noticed he got an idle alert on his mobile device showing that one of his snowplow drivers was idling for a long period of time. So you can set the amount of time before you get the alert. And he tried to reach out to the driver to no avail, and he got concerned, so he called for help. They sent help out there, and they found that it was a good ending to it, but that driver had a heart attack and was slumped over the wheel. So the paramedics had informed him later that, had you not got out there when you did for this situation, it wouldn't have been a good result at the end. So, and then also Noriel wanted me to be available to answer any other specific questions. I know time's limited.
Does this system push notifications to whomever it's going to be, whoever's going to monitor this program?
Yes.
So if you could set some sort of a threshold per se of 5,000, 10,000 miles service increments or whatever, and the system's going to push that out to the shops?
That is correct, sir. Yes.
Also, as Mr. Waters mentioned, the idle notification. So for officer safety issues, we know that officers might stop and run radar for 30 minutes at a time. But if that car is sitting for longer than 30 minutes, we could have an alarm go off that the officer in charge, sergeant, would be notified to make sure the officer is okay. Officers have been attacked while they're sitting in a car idle. This way we know if something happened.
As far as the maintenance part of it, what does this do beyond what is normally done service-wise at Public Works? I mean, if we're talking about oil changes and things like that, I'm assuming that you have a program that they're brought in routinely to check and do oil changes and maintenance on it. What more does this do than that?
Well, we rely on staff to be able to provide that information to our mechanics. So if it's due for an oil change, if it's due for tire rotation or any kind of maintenance that is required, we rely on our staff to be able to provide those that needed information to our mechanics. I alluded to a fact that, as much as I'd like to say that we communicate well, sometimes that happens in terms of, our staff, they thought it was reported by somebody else. This provides that real-time data directly to our mechanics accordingly.
Okay, so then basically all it's doing is like routinely telling the mechanic rather than relying on the employees to tell the mechanic.
We have another system that will provide us the information as
All
well.
right, the second part of it is there video? You say that if they knock down a mailbox or something like that, is there actual video of that mailbox being knocked down? Or is it just that you're tracking that Joe was in that area with the plow?
For the vehicles for Public Works, we are including a roadside facing camera.
So you can actually see what they're doing. As far as video, does it relate to video in the patrol cars?
We already have video in the patrol cars.
Well, what I was asking is the camera that the
Body-worn cameras.
that they wear, does this coordinate that with the car camera?
No, our body-worn cameras are already coordinated with the in-car camera. The squad cars will not have the Verizon Connect camera because we already are equipped with front-facing dash cameras and our body camera, so we wouldn't be getting that option.
So that doesn't do anything on that part of it?
No, only the certain trucks for Public Works are going to have the forward-facing cameras.
Again, I asked these questions, and there's probably a lot more questions I had that routinely would be done right now by personnel. And at the price of $21,000 a year, over 10 years, we're talking about a price tag of over $225,000. And to me, again, just my value of it. It doesn't seem like it's that valuable at this point for something that mainly we can do in-house ourselves. But that's just my take on it.
For the maintenance part, I'm not sure, but the other things we want it for the ability to see where the vehicles have been, if they were where they're supposed to be, refuting claims of erratic driving or whatever, that's another issue.
No, I understand, Chief,
Yeah.
the things, but for the amount of money it costs to it, I don't see the value in it. That's
understand.
where I stand on it.
Okay.
Are the cameras that are in the squads now, the front cameras with Verizon?
No.
So we can't roll them in somehow to get a discount?
No, it's a different type of system.
Okay.
The police body-worn cameras and the squad car cameras are an integrated system.
Okay, I was just wondering
Yeah.
who it was through. If it was,
Okay. So again, we're not paying for cameras for Verizon for this, for the police department. We already have those cameras. So that won't be part of this.
Can I address the question regarding the discount? So one of the things that Verizon does, we support over 2 million vehicles out there in the field right now, but in terms of the government vehicles, they get preferential treatment in terms of pricing. So there's 2 contracts that you guys qualify for, GSA or Sourcewell. GSA is the one that you guys were looking at. There's no charge for the hardware, and there's technically a 12-month contract, but there's no early termination fee. The billing doesn't start until the sooner of 90 days from the date you sign, or they get installed. And then you pay for service after it's been rendered. So if you started in the middle of a month, the following month you'd get your first bill. The good part about this for government is that at any time, even though we've made the investment in the equipment and given that to you, if you don't see the value, return on your investment, at any point you can discontinue service and there's no charge to do so other than the service that you've used. You don't pay for the equipment or anything.
is that after the 12 months?
No, at any time.
Oh.
So the 12 months that's why I said technically it's a 12-month contract, but because you're a government customer, there's no penalty for you to leave. Of course, Verizon would like to earn your business, and we have support teams that will help you get the most use out of the product. And to the other point, in terms of the return on investment, a lot of times we look at, people that do a job for the organization. We have to value the time that they have when you consider Noriel and the chief and the other team that have to interact with the data. Now, we charge per vehicle per month, and this may be a little twist on how you look at it, but if you looked at the service cost of that monthly fee based on the hours of keeping track of the, arguably, you have the lion's share of your expense and your potential liability in the assets, the rolling assets that are out there servicing the community. It breaks down to, on the vehicles, GPS, it's like 9 cents an hour that you're tacking on to basically keep tabs. When you add the camera, you're at like 20 cents an hour for those vehicles with the camera. So
How
that
many
would
other
be something I would
communities in our area have a program like what we're looking at here?
So that's all public information. Obviously, there's a couple that have said that they can, I could share that information. I've got good relationships like, the city of Aurora, my hometown, city of Park Ridge, city of Evanston. They use the exact services that, that Noriel and Chief are looking at here.
Wilmington is using it. I started in Wilmington when I was there.
How does real-time data like this increase personnel safety, public safety? Real-time data is where it's at with getting a feed, whether it be via dashboard or push notifications or what have you, but be able to react, saving, from a maintenance perspective, saving an engine. What does an engine cost these days? But from the focus of personal safety and what, are there some examples we can draw upon the past 10 years here in Shorewood where this would have been handy, and then any, use case examples you might be able to think about?
Well, it's kind of a dramatic one. I would point back to the one example I just gave where, there was a man down. I'm sure you guys have other scenarios that maybe not quite as dramatic. In terms of looking for ways to, recover the low-hanging fruit in terms of the return on investment is fuel. So there's a recent 2023 Fleet Trends report that came out, and they talk about accidents, reduction in accidents by 12%, fuel, so going from no system to having a system like this, a savings of 7%. I know Noriel can look at, what you guys spend on fuel. That probably would cover the cost of it alone just by reduced idle time and, better routing. In terms of the safety issues, I mean, I've had other ones that, matter of fact, I think Noriel shared one with me earlier today where luckily nobody got hurt. It was in another community, but somebody had backed up at a train tracks, hit the public works vehicle, and then got out and was apologetic. Nobody was hurt. And then when the police arrived, it kind of changed their story. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for just GPS shortens the argument that you may have with somebody. The camera, the video solution really ends the argument. And I can show examples to the board through Noriel. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I could tell you some crazy stories, but
Also, administratively, if we have to investigate an accident with a village vehicle, it shows exactly how fast the vehicle is going. So if somebody said that the person was driving erratically, or in that instance, the person actually backed up into the village-owned vehicle to prove that is, that's what happened. It wasn't our person, our employee driving crazy or speeding or, somehow violating the traffic code. We have the proof there.
And going back, one last thing, going back to the mailboxes, one of my teammates had shared a story, his customer, a larger city, but they were paying out on 100 mailboxes, they paid out $1,200 each. Now, he's told me that they were brick, real nice mailboxes. They were expensive. That was material and labor. You guys would have to look at your own data at how many of those claims you've paid out and what the dollar amount is, but that all, eats into the cost and the experience with the resident if you did it to be able to quickly settle it.
Who controls if the camera's on or off? Can the driver turn it on or off?
So when the vehicle ignition's on, the camera's running at all times. And then when the vehicle ignition's off, it'll run for another 15 minutes. 5 of those minutes will be at the same 30 frames per second. So, and it's locked and it's encrypted. So if somebody didn't like what they thought was on the camera, they'd have to break into the camera, and then it's encrypted. But that automatically goes into the cloud library and to anybody who has authority to see it. In addition to the automatic 15-second clips that'll show, harsh driving events, you also have the ability to grab something on demand. So if you go back to that, mailbox incident, if they say, hey, it was at this time, this address, you can pull it up as long as the vehicle's running and it's on the SD card. You can preview the 40 seconds that would exonerate your driver, or if it turned out that there was an issue, then you'd move to settle it quickly, which would obviously make the resident happy that it wasn't a long, drawn-out process.
Do you set alarms are for when the vehicle's not running? In other words, they're supposed to be running.
Yeah.
And they turn the ignitions off for half hour or an hour or whatever. Is there an alarm for that, even though the camera is running for the couple of minutes?
Yeah, so anything that you want to accomplish, you can set up real-time alerts and reports, and they can be emailed or texted. So in the case of inactivity, you can set parameters at how long this vehicle is typically moving and active, but it hasn't moved and been active in a certain period of time. Then it would alert whoever needs to be notified by text and or email.
Who would, in this case, get those reports or be able to see it real time?
Anybody who's authorized. There's unlimited users. It's all web-based.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so at least from Public Works, we would assign, of course, staff accordingly. So, from the Public Works side, it would be myself and Mr. Plise, and then, of course, from the chief, whoever he would like to assign it to.
Just to clarify a question that was asked, if the vehicle is shut off, the camera continues on for several minutes or how many
Technically-
seconds?
Yeah, technically 15 minutes, but the first 5 minutes are the useful ones. It's 30 frames per second, same quality that you would see in, any of our videos.
So if a truck is parked, say, at a restaurant for lunch, and they're having lunch there, and it's parked over the 15 minutes, after the 15 minutes, there's no record of anything?
Well, there would be no video record that you can pull up. You would have GPS tracking record that it's still parked at that location.
But if someone ran into it, you wouldn't have video of it?
That's correct. Yeah, the vehicle would have to be on. So if the vehicle's running and it's stationary, then it will continue filming, that whole time. So I had a fire department. They bought it for one reason. They said, look, we want to get to these fires safely. Sometimes vehicles pull in front of us, and we want to protect our guys from that. And once they had it in place, they realized they could use it for other things. So the first truck on the scene was able to get video of the fire. Was it engulfed in flames? Did it just get started? So they were starting to use that video for training.
The terms of the contract, it's cancelable in the first 12 months?
Yes, obviously, we make an investment in the hardware Verizon, so we wouldn't want you to do that, but you're free to go. If you don't see value in the product, you don't have to reimburse us for the equipment under the GSA contract.
Any other questions? Not. If there's an interest, take a motion to approve. All right, we'll move on. Item number 8's going to get passed over. Move on to department reports. Building, Mr. Dudash.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report.
No problem. Community development.
Thank you. At the next meeting, we'll be showing you the website. Isabel is busy doing all the finishing touches on it, making sure everything's working, so we'll hope to present it to you then. And if you like it and feel we're ready, then we'll go live. We'll also be having a representative from Christopher Burke attend to talk about photometrics, and we've also asked him to give us a little bit more insight into the illuminated signage that we discussed a couple meetings ago. We have 2 public hearings we're scheduling for October that Edgar's working on. One is a solar and wind facility ordinance, and the other one's regarding short-term rentals. That's it.
All right. Finance.
No report. Thank you.
Parks.
Good evening again. Just a few quick reminders. The fall community-wide garage sale is this Friday and Saturday. Registration has ended, but the list of participating addresses is up on our village website. There is a printable list and as well as a Google map that has all the pins for each address. Oktoberfest is coming up September 23rd. It'll be at Seeney's Four Seasons Park from 3:30 to 11:30 p.m. This features traditional German food and music, as well as barbecue and some rock music. Our headlining band this year is High Infidelity. And then we also have a lot of great fall programs that are open. Registration is open, so be sure to check the village website for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Police.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to mention that today, September 12th, is National Police Women's Day. So we are celebrating Sergeant Daniel Malone, Officer Christine Smicker, and our newest officer, Daisy DeLira.
Thank you. Public Works.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Administrator.
No report.
Thank you. Moving to trustee comments. Trustee Amos.
Thank you, no comment.
Brockman.
Thank you, Mayor. Our next meeting for planning and zoning will be on October 4th here at the Village Hall, 7 o'clock, too early for an agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol.
No comment.
Trustee Chapman.
Nothing.
Trustee Luciano.
Citizens Advisory Committee will be meeting September 28th at 7 p.m. here at the Village Hall. And as always, if anyone's interested in getting involved, the information to contact anyone on the committee is on the village website.
Thank you. Selfridge.
I've got one question for Public Works, actually. The streetlights, I know the streetlight program's done on River Road. What about replacing any other streetlights? Like there's a streetlight down on Peyton Terrace. It's been down for over a year now. Are we still waiting on supplies? I know there are supply issues for the other lights.
I apologize. That's just staffing priorities.
Okay.
It is on our list. Checking in with staff, they had hoped to be able to get that started within the last 2 weeks, or probably since that report was, or now 3 weeks, I think. Close. I don't have a schedule, but I know it's on their list.
Okay, but so it's not a supply issue,
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Luciano, second Selfridge. Roll call, please.
Chapman?
Yes.
Luciano?
Yes.
Selfridge?
Yes.
Amos?
Yes.
Brockman?
Yes.
And Carroll.
Yes.
All right, we are adjourned.